You know how some sentences don't just hurt, they stay? Mine was, "You'll never be successful, Lena. You don't have ambition." My boyfriend said that at our graduation dinner, loud, in front of his friends. And then he broke up with me, like he was announcing a promotion. Hi, Internet. If you're watching this on YouTube and you're into long, messy stories about exes, quiet revenge, and the kind of success you don't post on Instagram, go ahead and hit subscribe. You're going to want popcorn for this. My name is Lena Vale. I'm 31 now, and this story started when I was 21, almost 22, a few days before graduation. Back then, I was just another computer engineering student trying to keep my brain from melting. My life was a simple loop: coding projects, group assignments, late-night gaming with a couple of friends, and a permanent war with my 8 a.m. lectures. I wasn't a party girl. I wasn't a sorority girl. I wasn't networking queen of the semester material. I was background noise. I existed on the edges of campus photos, laptop open, hoodie up, coffee in hand. And then I met Noah Brooks. If college was a movie, Noah was the guy framed in perfect lighting in every scene. Business management major, loud laugh, nice watch he definitely couldn't afford, always surrounded by people who nodded too quickly and laughed too hard at his jokes. He thrived in conferences and group presentations. He was the sort of person who believed being seen was the same as being successful. We met at a campus startup fair. I'd thrown together a basic prototype of a budgeting app, half for fun, half for extra credit. My table was small, my sign was crooked, and I was mostly there to get the participation grade and go home. Noah walked up with 2 of his friends, all polished shoes and cologne. He glanced at my laptop and gave me this big, performative smile. "Wow, this is actually kind of cool," he said, leaning in like he was a judge on some TV show. "But you're underselling it. Your branding is all wrong." He proceeded to spend 10 minutes explaining how I should market what I'd built. I remember thinking he was exhausting. But also magnetic. He asked for my number for networking. That night he texted, "Networking my ass. Want to grab coffee?" We started seeing each other pretty often after that. Noah liked that I wasn't like the other people in his circle. I didn't hover over social media. I didn't chase internships because they had big logos. I actually liked staring at code for hours. He'd tease me about being antisocial and call me his little introvert, like it was quirky and cute. I liked that he could pull me out of my shell. He'd show up at the library with snacks, drop into the seat beside mine, and start rambling about his dream job at some big firm. He'd ask, almost sweetly, about my projects, even if his eyes glazed over halfway through my explanations. For a while, it worked. He made me talk more. He nudged me to meet new people, go to events, wear something other than my comfort hoodie. There were nights we lay on the grass behind the engineering building, staring at the sky while he narrated his dream life. Corner office, expensive suits, photos at airport lounges. When he asked what I wanted, I said something simple. I just want to build something that matters, and not be owned by anyone while I do it. He smiled, kissed my forehead, and said, "You're cute when you say things like that." At the time, I didn't realize that meant, "I don't take you seriously." The cracks showed up slowly. First, it was comments about networking. "You're so smart, Lena, but you never show up. You just hide behind your laptop. No one's going to discover you, you know." Then it was criticism disguised as advice. "You can't just code your whole life. You need presence. You need ambition." Ambition to Noah meant be loud, be visible, be seen with the right people. Ambition to me meant keep your head down, keep learning, keep building. My best friend on campus, Theo Cruz, saw it before I did. Theo was another engineering major, the funny, easygoing type. But behind the jokes, he read people disturbingly well. One afternoon, after Noah left our table in the cafeteria, Theo watched him walk away and said, "That guy's looking for a resume, not a relationship." I laughed it off. "You're overreacting." Theo shrugged and stuffed a fry in his mouth. "Okay, just don't be surprised when he starts treating you like a bullet point." I wish I hadn't written that off so fast. As graduation got closer, Noah started changing. He began spending more time with MBA students, the ones who wore blazers to class and called group projects ventures. He went out to networking events 3 nights a week, posting endless stories with captions like "future sharks" and "big moves loading." He still texted me, but the tone shifted. Fewer. "Miss you. How's your day?" More. "You should come to this panel. It's good for your image." My what? One night we were out with some of his classmates at a bar. The music was loud, the lighting dim, and every conversation was some weird competition about job offers and future salaries. This guy in a blazer turned to me and said, "So, Lena, where'll you be working after graduation?" I answered honestly, "Nowhere yet. I've got some freelance stuff lined up, but I'm working on a project of my own." I could feel Noah stiffen beside me. He laughed, that big, showy laugh, and said, "She's always tinkering with her secret little projects. I keep telling her to be realistic." Everyone chuckled awkwardly. My face felt hot. I smiled and stared at my drink because I didn't trust my voice. That moment stayed with me longer than the hangover. When graduation finally came, everyone lined up in gowns, taking a lifetime's worth of photos with their caps in the air and their "I did it" faces on. Noah had an internship at a marketing agency in another city. He walked like he already owned the building. I had a half-finished idea for a product, a degree, and no job offer. To him, that gap between us wasn't just practical, it was proof. Our last night together was at a small graduation dinner. Noah, a couple of his friends, me, and Theo. Halfway through, one of his friends asked about post-grad plans. Noah launched into a monologue about his internship, his growth path, his 5-year timeline. Then, almost as an afterthought, they turned to me. "And you, Lena?" I shrugged. "I'm still figuring it out. I want to build something of my own. I'm freelancing for now." There was a beat of silence. Then Noah put his glass down and said the sentence that branded itself into my spine. "You're brilliant, Lena, but brilliance without ambition is wasted. I need someone who's going somewhere." He said it with a smile, like it was a toast. The table went quiet. Theo stared at him like he'd just throat-punched me. Noah's friends shifted in their seats, suddenly fascinated by their cutlery. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just stared at Noah and felt something inside me click into place. Not a snap, not a breakdown, a shutdown. I realized he didn't actually know me at all. He thought quiet meant weak, that being careful meant being lazy, that building slowly meant not building at all. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. "You'll see," I said. 3 simple words, not a threat, not a promise, just a decision. After dinner, he tried to soften it, said he didn't mean it like that. Then he doubled down about wanting someone driven, someone who's going somewhere. I looked him straight in the eye. "Then go," I told him. So he did. No dramatic breakup scene, no storming out. He just left, took his ambition, his perfect smile, his carefully curated future, and walked away. I went back to my dorm that night, took off the gown, hung it over my chair, and sat on the floor with my laptop. The room was quiet. Campus was buzzing outside my window. My phone lit up with notifications. Classmates tagging each other in photos, posting about the future. I put my phone face down. I opened my code editor. I didn't start working to prove Noah wrong. I didn't suddenly transform into some revenge-driven girl boss overnight. I started working because that's what I do. Because I didn't want my last memory of college to be a man telling me who I wasn't. Hours slipped by. The sun started bleeding into the sky. My eyes burned, but my mind felt weirdly calm. Somewhere between one line of code and the next, I realized something. He thought I had no ambition because I didn't perform it. He was wrong. My ambition just wasn't loud, it was patient. And that night, on the floor of a tiny dorm room with half-packed boxes and a dead plant in the corner, I decided something else. If he thought I'd never be successful, fine. He simply wouldn't be around to see what happened when I was. After graduation, reality didn't hit like a car crash. I almost wish it had. Instead, it came like a slow leak. You don't notice it at first. Then one day you wake up, your account is almost empty, your degree feels like a decorative piece of paper, and the only constant in your life is the sound of your own typing at 3 a.m. I didn't have a job lined up, no corporate offer, no fancy welcome to the team email. What I had was a half-baked product idea, a computer that overheated every time I opened too many tabs, and just under $1,000 in my bank account. I packed my life into 3 boxes and moved into the cheapest apartment I could find. Apartment is generous. The place had peeling paint, one window that barely opened, and a heater that wheezed like it was in its final days. In the summer, it turned into an oven. In the winter, I slept in layers. The kitchen, a sink, a hot plate, and a fridge that made a noise like it was constantly thinking about quitting. The first night there, I sat on the floor with my back against the wall, surrounded by boxes, holding a cup of instant noodles and asking myself the question my parents didn't want to say out loud. What if Noah was right? What if wanting to build something of my own was just delusion? I stared at my laptop. Then I opened it. I started freelancing online. Anything that would pay. Bug fixes for badly written websites, tiny app features, Data cleanup jobs that made my eyes blur. I sent out hundreds of emails a week. Most never got a reply. Some turned into test work that mysteriously never led to payment. I learned quickly that "it'll be great for your portfolio" was code for "we're not going to pay you." Lunch was ramen. Dinner was ramen. Breakfast was yesterday's cold coffee. My days blurred, applying, coding, refreshing my inbox, wondering if I was stupid for not taking the safe route. Nights were worse. That's when Noah's words replayed the loudest. "You don't have ambition. I need someone who's going somewhere." Somewhere, apparently, did not include a one-room apartment with water stains on the ceiling. Theo stayed in town after graduation, too. He got a part-time IT job at a school. Unglamorous, underpaid, but at least stable. On weekends, he'd show up at my place, kick the sticky door open with his foot, and walk in holding a plastic bag of leftover food from whatever office or school event he'd worked. "Tribute," he'd say, dropping the bag on my desk, "from the land of people who get salaried paychecks." We'd eat lukewarm pasta or half-dry sandwiches while I showed him the half-finished projects on my screen. "Why are you charging so little?" he asked one night, squinting at my invoices. "Because I like eating," I said, "and clients disappear if you scare them with numbers." He leaned back in the wobbly folding chair I used as my office chair and said, "Or, hear me out. You charge more and stop letting people walk all over you." I snorted. "Easy for you to say, Mr. I get paid every 2 weeks." He looked around at the tiny space. "You're building stuff people actually need, Lena. You just suck at selling it." That stung, but in a way that felt annoyingly accurate. So we made a deal. Theo would handle the people. I'd handle the code. He started emailing clients, answering calls, smoothing things over when I got too blunt in writing. He'd translate their vague requests into actual requirements I could build. At first, it was basic. Small business websites, online booking forms, patching up broken databases for local shops. It was barely enough to pay rent and keep the lights on, but it was something. Then came the thing that changed everything. One of our small clients was a logistics company that delivered products around the city. Nothing huge, just a handful of trucks and a stressed-out owner who kept losing track of where everything was. He complained in one meeting, "If you could just find a way to stop my staff from calling me 50 times a day asking where their shipments are, I'd pay in my sanity alone." I went home thinking about that sentence. I didn't set out to build a startup or a solution or whatever buzzword you want to use. I just wrote a simple tool, something that automatically updated shipment statuses and sent clean, readable notifications to customers and staff. It wasn't pretty. The interface was plain, but it worked. When we showed it to the client, he stared at the screen, then at me. "You built this. How fast?" I shrugged. "Couple of nights." He laughed. "You just saved me a full-time salary." He started using it immediately. A week later, he called and said, "Hey, my friend runs a warehouse across town. Can I give him your number?" I told him yes, because of course I did. That warehouse signed up, then another small business, then another. The tool evolved bit by bit. Tracking, alerts, dashboards. I wasn't thinking about scale or product market fit. I just kept fixing what people complained about. It took months, a lot of nights where I fell asleep at my desk with my cheek on the keyboard, a lot of mornings where my neck screamed at me for existing. There were failures too. Once a client took my code, disappeared, and popped up online bragging about his new tool. Another time, a scraper I built broke an entire system because I missed a single line of logic. I remember one specific night. It was 5 a.m. The sun was tinting the sky gray. My internet had cut out mid-deploy, and I was sitting there in the dark, surrounded by empty noodle cups, thinking, maybe Noah was right. Maybe this is just wasted effort. My phone buzzed. "Theo, got you coffee. Open your door, cave troll." I dragged myself over and opened it. He stood there, hair a mess, holding 2 cups. "You look like a ghost," he said, stepping inside. A very underpaid ghost. He set the coffee down, glanced at my screen, and whistled. "Or, and stick with me here, a future CEO." I rolled my eyes so hard it hurt. "Shut up." He tapped the side of my monitor. "No, you shut up and keep building. Let me talk." So I did. Slowly, the chaos turned into something less chaotic. We got a few regular clients who actually paid on time. The logistics tool started quietly spreading through word of mouth. Our invoices stopped bouncing. My rent was paid before the last day of the month for once. One afternoon, Theo walked into my apartment, balancing 2 mismatched chairs he'd bought off Facebook Marketplace. "Congratulations," he said, breathless. "Your empire has furniture." He set one down opposite my desk and collapsed into it. So, he said, what are we calling this whole thing? I shrugged. I don't know. It's just us. He grinned. Exactly. Two nerds sucking in clients, one invoice at a time. He paused. Vortex Systems. I laughed. That's dramatic. All good tech names are dramatic, he said. Trust me, it'll look good on a business card. The name stuck in my head. A month later, I was filling out a form and typed it in without thinking. Company, Vortex Systems. Just like that, it became real. We opened a tiny business account with barely 3 digits in it. We moved from my apartment to a shared office space that smelled like burnt coffee and printer ink. 2 desks, 2 mismatched chairs, 1 secondhand coffee machine that sputtered like it had asthma. It wasn't glamorous, but it was ours. Around that time, my social media feeds started showing me more of Noah than I wanted. He'd pop up with that same smooth smile, now in suits that almost fit properly. Photos with captions like, "Never settle," "Chasing greatness," "Know your worth." In one post, he was standing on a balcony with some skyline behind him, arm around a woman in a tight dress, captioned, "When you match each other's ambition, nothing can stop you." I'd look for a second, and then scroll. Not out of heartbreak, just numbness. Like watching a trailer for a movie you've already seen and didn't like the first time. He'd wanted someone who looked ambitious, someone who fit the picture. I was building systems in a cramped office, in jeans and a hoodie, drinking coffee that tasted like burnt rubber. No one was clapping. No one was watching. No one was calling me driven in the comments. But my code was running. Clients were logging in. Invoices were being paid. And slowly, somewhere between one boring Tuesday and the next, I realized something. I had stopped checking Noah's profile on purpose. I stopped wondering if he'd ever see what I was doing. He was chasing an image. I was building infrastructure. One of those things looks better in photos. The other one survives when the Wi-Fi goes out. By the end of our second year, Vortex Systems had 5 steady clients, a name, a tiny team of contractors, and enough money to breathe without panicking every time my phone lit up with a bank notification. It still didn't feel like success. It felt like survival with slightly nicer office chairs. But that foundation, those sleep-deprived nights, those broken laptops and quiet wins, were what everything else would stand on. Including the night, years later, when my ex-boyfriend would walk into a reunion with his new girlfriend, bragging about the company she'd just been hired at. Mine. But I'm getting ahead of myself. At 23, in that tiny shared office space, I had no idea how big Vortex would become. I didn't know there'd be 120 employees one day, or funding rounds, or magazine profiles. All I knew was this. Noah had been wrong about one thing. I wasn't going nowhere. I was just going somewhere he couldn't see yet. By the time I hit 31, the quiet chaos of those early years had turned into something stable, predictable even. The kind of life you don't brag about online because it doesn't need an audience. Vortex Systems wasn't a dream anymore. It was a building with 120 employees, overflowing meeting rooms, and an operations team that ran like a military division if the military ran on coffee and sarcastic comments. My days started before sunrise. Wake up at 5:30, gym downstairs at 6 o'clock, coffee brewed at 6:45. Review overnight reports before the city even remembered it had responsibilities. I liked mornings. No meetings, no notifications, just me, spreadsheets, and a calm I'd built from nothing. At 8 o'clock sharp, Harper Lane, my operations manager, usually appeared at my office door carrying her tablet like a shield. Harper was the kind of woman who could run an entire company and still judge my caffeine intake in the same breath. That morning, she leaned against my doorframe and said, "Morning, boss. Did you blink yet today?" "I did," I said, typing another line. "Didn't like it. Won't do it again." She smirked. "You need hobbies." "My gym routine counts." "Lena, lifting a dumbbell is not a personality." Then she walked off, already firing instructions at 3 departments at once. I liked Harper. She said what needed to be said, did what needed to be done, and never asked me pointless questions like, "Do you want drama in your life today?" Because drama never asked permission. Around 10 a.m., Theo barged into my office without knocking, a habit he'd never unlearn. He waved his phone in the air like he'd found a treasure map. "You're not going to believe this. If it's another meme..." "Nope. Way better." He dropped into the chair across from me. "Guess who's hosting a 10-year college reunion?" I didn't even bother looking up. Hard pass. "Oh, come on. Free food. Free nostalgia. Free judgment of people who peaked at 22. I don't do small talk." "Perfect," he said. I do. You can stand behind me looking successful and vaguely intimidating. Before I could roll my eyes, Harper came back in, heard the last sentence, and snorted. You should go, she said. Absolutely not. You're going, she repeated. You just don't know it yet. Traitors, both of them. Despite my protests, I found myself thinking about the reunion all afternoon, how I hadn't thought about college in years. Those long nights in the engineering lab, the panic, the ramen, the girl I used to be. And yes, him, Noah Brooks. His name hadn't crossed my mind in ages, not in a meaningful way. His voice used to echo in my head. You'll never be successful, Lena. But over the years, it had faded into background static. Still, reunions had a way of resurrecting old ghosts. By the time I got home that evening, the sky outside my window was turning a soft orange. I made a simple dinner, opened a few progress reports, and settled onto my couch. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Hey, stranger, you going to the reunion? And I froze. N. There was only one person who had ever signed messages like that. I stared at it for a moment, not because I was shaken, but because of the audacity. 10 years of silence, and suddenly he wanted to play friendly? I took a screenshot and immediately sent it to Theo. Lena, guess who? Theo. No way. He still has your number? This is going to be good. I didn't reply to Noah, didn't even open the message again. But here's the thing, no one tells you about an ex resurfacing. It's never about the ex. It's about who you were when they last knew you. Noah still thought of me as that quiet, uncertain girl with a fraying hoodie and a laptop held together by hope and duct tape. He had no idea who I'd become. Later that night, Theo called. You see the text? Yes. You're going now, right? I don't know. You are, he said. Not for him, for you. To measure the distance between who you were and who you are. I looked around my apartment. Soft lighting, minimal furniture, a skyline view that I still couldn't believe I owned. I'm not angry at him, I said quietly. No one said you were, but closure isn't always a door slamming. Sometimes it's walking into a room and realizing you don't feel anything anymore. I let out a breath. Okay, maybe. Theo laughed. I'll take it. When we hung up, I reopened the reunion email. Venue, a fancy hotel ballroom downtown. Dress code, business casual. RSVP, optional. I hovered for a long moment, then clicked yes. Not for revenge, not to impress, not to show Noah what he'd lost. Simply to see what 10 years had built and what it had erased. The reunion was held in one of those polished hotel ballrooms that smell like expensive perfume, carpet cleaner, and regret. Chandeliers glittered overhead. People dressed a little too formally for an event no one actually cared about. I parked, adjusted my blazer, and followed Theo inside. You ready? He whispered, adjusting his tie. For what? For chaos, obviously. We checked in and walked into the room. Immediately, I felt the buzz of performative success. People bragging too loudly, laughing too hard, clinging to their titles like life preservers. It was like scrolling LinkedIn in real life. Theo nudged me. Welcome to the Hunger Games. I grabbed a drink and stood by a table, half listening to someone explain their crypto startup like it wasn't currently burning to the ground. And then, I felt a familiar shift, like the air had thickened. Theo noticed first. Oh, incoming! I turned. There he was. Noah Brooks. Same confident stride, same perfectly styled hair, same cologne I remembered from years ago. Clean, sharp, aspirational. But now he wasn't alone. He had his arm draped around a woman. She was tall, elegant, wearing a dress that probably cost more than my entire college wardrobe. She beamed as they approached. Lena, Noah said, fake surprise dripping from his voice. Wow, it's been forever. I smiled politely. Noah. This is my girlfriend, he said proudly. Bianca Monroe. Bianca squeezed his arm. Such a pleasure. Noah told me you were in tech. That's wild, because guess what? She flipped her hair and said with a sparkle, I just got hired at this amazing startup. Maybe you've heard of it. Vortex Systems? Theo choked on his drink. Bianca continued, blissfully unaware. It's supposed to be super innovative. Their founder is this mysterious genius who barely shows his face. Honestly, I can't wait to learn from him. Or... She giggled. Maybe one day run something there. Her eyes glowed with ambition, the way Noah's always had. So what do you do now? She asked me. Still freelancing, or... Theo looked like he might explode. I just smiled. I'm still in tech, I said calmly. Doing something small. Bianca nodded sympathetically. Well, hey, maybe once I settle in, I can put in a good word for you. Vortex is always looking for people with potential. Theo practically wheezed, trying not to laugh. Bianca lifted her phone. Here, let's connect on LinkedIn. What's your name again? I told her. She typed, looked down, paused. Her expression shifted like someone had unplugged her from reality. On her screen was my profile. Lena Vale, founder and CEO, Vortex Systems. The silence that followed was beautiful. Noah's smile faltered. Bianca blinked, like the app had personally betrayed her. I held my drink steady. Well, I said softly, see you both around. Then I walked away. 10 years ago, someone told me I would never be successful. That night, the universe delivered my answer for me. Bianca Monroe started at Vortex Systems on a Monday. She arrived 15 minutes early, wearing a blazer so crisp it could have sliced drywall. Her heels clicked across the polished floor with that confident rhythm of someone who believed she had landed her dream job, and had no idea she was walking straight into poetic karma. I watched her from my office window as Harper greeted her. Harper's expression was neutral, professionally neutral. The kind of neutral she used when dealing with complicated partners or last-minute clients, or, apparently, ex-boyfriend's new ambitious girlfriends. Theo appeared beside me like he had teleported. You ready for this? He whispered, grinning. I'm ready to work, I said, nothing else. Sure, boss, he replied, leaning closer. But you have to admit, this is art. I didn't answer. Couldn't give him the satisfaction. Bianca started her orientation the same way many new employees did. Wide-eyed, enthusiastic, soaking in the company's vibe. Except unlike most, she had a narrative, she bragged. A lot. To anyone who would listen. I'm honestly hoping to move into strategic development pretty fast, she told one project manager. I mean, I've got the vision. I know the CEO is famously private, she told HR, but I'm determined to learn from him, or her, or them. She laughed. Who even knows? Theo watched from across the hallway, mouthing silently to me, oh, she's going to implode. Meanwhile, I stayed in my office. Vortex was large enough that most employees didn't see me daily. Bianca assumed she'd only meet the CEO in some future high-level meeting. She certainly didn't expect we'd already met at the reunion. By lunchtime, I'd overheard 3 things about her. She name-dropped Noah constantly. She talked like she was applying for my job, not her entry-level role. She kept referring to herself as a future leader in the company. Ambition wasn't the problem. Delusion was. But I let her settle in. She was another employee, nothing more. Her relationship with Noah, not my business. Her reunion performance, old news. Her assumptions about me, her problem. My job was to run the company, not manage poetic irony. The real drama, as always, began with Noah. 2 days into Bianca's onboarding, I got an email. Subject, potential collaboration. Opportunity. From Noah Brooks. I stared at my screen. Of course, I opened it. Lena, it would be great to reconnect professionally. I have some ideas for projects Bianca and I could assist Vortex with. Let's schedule a call. Noah. 4 sentences, 0 self-awareness. Theo poked his head into my office the moment he saw my expression. No way, he emailed, didn't he? He did. Oh my God, Theo muttered, collapsing into the chair. He thinks he's relevant. I deleted the email. No reply. A few hours later, another message appeared. Not sure if you saw my last email. Noah. I didn't answer. The next morning, he tried again. This is a great opportunity for you. You're welcome. N. Theo read that one over my shoulder and whispered, oh, he is begging for humiliation. Please let me respond. No, you're no fun. Thursday afternoon, Harper walked into my office, closing the door behind her, the universal sign of, oh no. We have a situation, she said. I braced myself. Bianca? Not directly, but orbiting her. She handed me her tablet. It displayed screenshots of emails Bianca had been sending to clients. Emails where she introduced herself as a strategic development liaison for Vortex, a position that did not exist, a title she did not have, and a corporate signature she had clearly fabricated. She reached out to 3 of our clients, Harper said, offered consultations we do not offer. One of them forwarded the message asking if this was some new program. Theo groaned into his hands. Oh, she's not just delusional. She's dangerous. I felt the calm settle over me. The same calm I had the night I told Noah, then go. Document everything, I said. Screenshots, timestamps, all correspondence. You're informing legal? Harper asked. Yes. And Bianca? She pressed. She'll be dealt with once we have everything in writing. Theo leaned back. You terrify me and I love it. But the universe wasn't done. Later that week, Noah escalated. Because of course he did. Harper came in again, second door close of the day, which was rarely good news. You might want to see this. She handed me a printout. It was a post on LinkedIn from Noah. A long melodramatic rant titled, How Women in Leadership Undermine Other Women. Oh yes, he had framed himself as Bianca's noble defender. The post was full of vague accusations about a female CEO in the tech space who refused to support young professional women. It hinted that Bianca had been silenced, that she was being denied opportunities by a vindictive female superior. He didn't use my name. He didn't have to. The comments immediately spiraled. A few random sympathizers chimed in. But then came the people who actually knew Noah, our mutual college acquaintances, former classmates, two people who remembered the reunion. And within hours, the narrative flipped. Someone commented, Isn't this the same Noah Brooks who once said his girlfriend lacked ambition? Another replied, I have screenshots from college, hold on. Then came a flood. Old posts, memories, even a tweet someone dug up. Never date a girl who codes for fun. You'll end up paying the rent. Noah, age 22. The internet did what the internet does. Corrected the storyline. Publicly. Theo sent me the thread with the caption, Popcorn? I didn't comment, didn't engage, didn't even like any posts. I simply forwarded the entire thread to our legal team. Bianca had impersonated a Vortex representative. Noah had posted defamation disguised as gender advocacy. It was time to respond, quietly, decisively, thoroughly. Monday morning, I walked into the weekly team meeting. Everyone sensed something had shifted. Bianca slipped into a chair in the back, looking exhausted. Noah's post had crashed and burned so spectacularly online that even she must have felt the impact. I didn't look at her. I conducted the meeting normally. Updates, deadlines, deliverables. Professional, calm. No theatrics, no subtle revenge speech, no acknowledgement of the chaos they had created. Afterward, Harper approached me with her tablet. Legal drafted a cease and desist. Want it sent today? Yes. And HR? Schedule a meeting with Bianca. Bring documentation. Harper nodded. You know, you're extremely scary when you're calm. I've been told. But the story didn't end there, because Noah and Bianca weren't done crashing. They were just beginning. If there's one thing I've learned running a company, it's this. Some people don't collapse suddenly. They unravel slowly, thread by thread, until they don't even realize they're the ones pulling. Bianca's unraveling began on Tuesday morning. HR called me at 9:12 a.m. Lena, we received an anonymous complaint. My stomach didn't tighten because when you run a company, anonymous complaints come with the territory. But HR's tone carried that you need to see this yourself weight. They forwarded the report. It was from Bianca, and it was a masterclass in delusion. The CEO made verbal promises about a future position for me, then reneged on them. Her actions have caused me emotional distress and a setback in my career trajectory. I blinked once. One slow blink. Theo, who had been sitting across the table during our planning discussion, watched my expression shift. Oh no, he whispered. Who died? I turned the tablet so he could see. He read the complaint and nearly threw his coffee across the room. She what? When? Where? Lena, I've known you for 10 years and I've never seen you renege on anything except sleep. I sighed. We have security camera footage, with audio. Bianca had walked into our lobby unannounced last week. We documented everything. Her tone, her demands, her bizarre attempts to pitch herself as a brand consultant for Vortex, despite being an entry-level hire. Security footage did not lie. I forwarded everything to HR. Within 2 hours, HR dismissed the complaint entirely, apologizing profusely for the inconvenience. Harper brought me coffee and set it on my desk. You handled that fast, she said. I don't like fires, I replied. I like documentation. Remind me never to cross you, she muttered. But that wasn't the end. Because Bianca wasn't operating alone. She was being fueled, pushed, by the same man who had once told me I lacked ambition. Noah Brooks. That night, the office was almost empty. The sun had dipped low behind the city skyline, and the only sounds were the hum of the HVAC system and Harper typing in the distance. I stayed late reviewing client development reports. At 8:43 p.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I already knew. You think you're untouchable, Lena. You owe me for what I inspired you to become. I stared at the message for a long moment. Years ago, words like that would have made me shake, cry, doubt myself. Now? Nothing. No spark of anger, no sting, no indignation. Just emptiness. The kind of emptiness that comes after you finally admit to yourself that someone never mattered as much as you once believed. I deleted the text. No reply. The next morning, the fallout started landing. Hard. First came a call from one of our long-term clients. "Hi, Lena. I think you should see this." They forwarded an email from Bianca. She had sent them strategic proposals on behalf of Vortex. She had used a fake Vortex signature. She had pitched consulting packages we didn't offer. She had named me, specifically, as approving these proposals. That was fraud, and the timestamp showed the email had been sent after her HR complaint failed. Theo walked into my office as I stared at the evidence. "I'm almost impressed," he said. "She's committing career suicide at record speed." "Legal needs to see this," I said. Harper already had the documentation ready. She was 3 steps ahead, as always. "Letters drafted," she said. "We can send the cease and desist today." "Do it!" "And Bianca?" "Meeting with HR immediately." The HR meeting lasted 26 minutes. She denied everything. She blamed coworkers. She blamed confusion. She blamed miscommunication at the leadership level. Then HR showed her the evidence. Her face collapsed. Her voice cracked. Her eyes widened. She babbled incoherently. Explanations, excuses, accusations, all tangled into one messy implosion. By the time she walked out of the HR conference room, she was shaking. Security was waiting to escort her from the building. I wasn't present. I didn't need to be. Leadership isn't about watching someone fall. It's about creating a system where the truth stands without you having to raise your voice. But Noah wasn't done. A week after Bianca's termination, HR forwarded me another report. North Star Logic, one of the biggest tech competitors in the region, had called to verify a resume. Bianca's resume. Theo, who overheard, clapped a hand over his mouth and whispered, "Oh no, she's still lying." The recruiter from North Star asked a simple question. Did a Bianca Monroe serve as a strategic consultant for Vortex Systems Partner Network? I actually laughed. For the first time in weeks. "We do not have a partner network," I said, "and she never worked in that capacity." There was a pause, then a quiet, fatal statement. "That's all we needed, thank you." Rumor later trickled back. Bianca had been escorted out of North Star's building mid-interview after being confronted with the truth. I didn't celebrate, didn't cheer, didn't feel triumphant. Honestly, I felt tired. Because people like Noah and Bianca exhausted the world around them, not just themselves. But the universe wasn't quite done wrapping up loose ends. 2 days later, I received an email. Subject appreciation from Blake Monroe, Bianca's ex-boyfriend. The man who unknowingly walked into his first day of work bragging to the CEO about the CEO's own company. He wrote, "Lena, I wanted to thank you for how professionally you handled everything after the reunion. You never humiliated me, even though the situation was awkward. I've started a new job out west at a logistics software company. I'm learning a lot and moving forward. I appreciate the dignity you showed me. It taught me more about leadership than I expected." Blake. I read it twice. In the middle of chaos, he had been the only casualty who didn't deserve to be hurt. I replied, "Glad to hear you're doing well. Keep moving forward, Lena." When I showed the email to Theo, he dramatically wiped a fake tear. "You're too classy," he sniffed. I would have sent him a gif. Of what? A phoenix rising from ashes. I threw a pen at him. But there was one last act. Noah wasn't finished. Spoiler, he was very finished. One evening, just as I was shutting down my computer, my phone buzzed again. Unknown number, another message. "You'd be nothing without me. I made you ambitious." This time I didn't stare at the message. I didn't analyze it. I didn't feel anything. I deleted it instantly. And for the first time, I understood something deeply. Closure isn't a conversation. It isn't revenge, it's indifference. When you finally realize that someone's opinion no longer holds weight, not in your life, not in your work, not in your mind, that is peace. And peace is louder than ambition ever was. I turned off my office lights and stepped into the quiet hallway. Vortex Systems hummed softly around me. The place I had built. The life I had built. The world that did not exist back when a boy told me I wasn't going anywhere. He was wrong. I didn't go nowhere. I went somewhere he would never be invited. 6 months after the Bianca Noah fiasco, Vortex Systems hit a milestone I once believed belonged only to other companies, the kind that got Silicon Valley think pieces written about them, the kind whose founders wore expensive hoodies and said words like synergy without irony. We closed our Series C funding, $75 million. My younger self, the one who lived off instant noodles and cried when her Wi-Fi bill was overdue, would have fainted. Present-day me just read the confirmation email 3 times, then whispered, "Oh, holy shit." Theo burst into my office like a confetti cannon disguised as a man. "We did it! We're rich! I'm buying a jet ski!" Harper followed behind him, tablet in hand, rolling her eyes so hard they nearly left orbit. You're not buying a jet ski. Harper, don't kill my joy. We don't have a jet ski budget. That's where you're wrong, he said, waving the funding announcement. We do now. I snorted. You're not buying a jet ski. He slumped dramatically into my guest chair. Fine, I'll buy a very expensive chair. Harper tapped her tablet. You're also not... Stop, let me dream. Their bickering filled my office, warm and grounding. A reminder that no matter how far the company scaled, my circle remained the same. Harper, sharp as steel, Theo, chaos with a heartbeat, and me, the quiet builder who somehow ended up here. After the funding announcement, a well-known tech magazine reached out. They wanted to do a feature on Vortex, the company that scaled under the radar. I didn't like attention, never had, but Harper pointed out that publicity would help recruiting. You can't hide forever, she said. You're running a real company now. You need a public face. I have a face, I replied. It's just private. Not anymore, I sighed. Fine, but one photo, no weird angles. The reporter arrived 2 days later. He was young, energetic, and asked questions like he was trying to understand the soul of the building. How did Vortex grow so fast? What's your leadership philosophy? What do you think differentiates you from other founders? I told him the truth. We don't chase noise. We build quietly until the results speak for themselves. He nodded thoughtfully. After the interview, he took a picture of me at my desk. I tried to look serious and visionary. According to Harper, I mostly looked like someone trying very hard not to blink. A week later, the article went live. The title made me laugh. The Woman Who Built Quietly. It described me as a founder who valued execution over attention, systems over spotlight. Someone who grew a multi-million-dollar company from 2 used desks and a secondhand coffee machine. Harper walked into my office with her phone held up. Not bad for someone with no ambition, huh? I shook my head, smiling. Guess I learned a little along the way. No, she said gently. You just stopped explaining yourself to people who never understood you. The article spread fast. LinkedIn exploded. Shares, comments, congratulations. I skimmed through the notifications, half dazed. Then I froze. Because there it was, a comment from Noah Brooks. Of course, so proud to see how far she's come. Always knew she had potential. Theo materialized beside my desk like a demon summoned by nonsense. You're kidding. I tilted the screen so he could read. He let out a strangled noise. Oh no, he did not. Oh yes, I murmured. Always knew she had potential, Theo sputtered. Sir, you told her she had no ambition. You dumped her at graduation like a seasonal accessory. I watched the comment for a moment. Then something magical happened. Our old classmates arrived. First comment. Didn't you dump her for being unambitious? Second. I literally remember the graduation dinner. You said she wasn't going anywhere. Third. Screenshots incoming. Someone attached an old post of Noah's from college. Finally free from dead weight. Time to date someone with real goals. Theo screamed into his sleeve. Within an hour, Noah's comment had been roasted so thoroughly it could have powered a small BBQ. And then, poof, deleted. Classic Noah. Theo put a hand on my shoulder. I'm proud of you for saying nothing. I didn't need to, I said. The internet said enough. Later that evening, I got another email. From Blake. Yes, that Blake. Bianca's ex, former Vortex employee, and collateral damage of Noah's orbit. Subject, update, Lena. Saw the article. Congratulations, sincerely. I'm doing well out west. My new job has been challenging in the best way. I'm learning a lot. Thank you again for the respect you showed me during everything. Not everyone would have handled it with that kind of restraint. Blake. Theo peeked over my shoulder. You're going to reply politely, aren't you? Yes. You're too good for this world. I typed. Thanks, Blake. Glad you're doing well. Keep moving forward. Lena. Theo sighed dramatically. Beautiful. Boring, but beautiful. For 2 blessed weeks, everything was quiet. Then, inevitably, chaos sent a postcard. One morning, Harper walked in with her tablet angled away from her body, like she was holding something contaminated. You're not going to like this, she said. I braced myself. She rotated the screen. A LinkedIn rant from Noah. Male founders are intimidated by successful women. I exhaled slowly. He hadn't mentioned me by name. But the subtext was a billboard. Theo groaned. Does he ever stop? Harper raised an eyebrow. Men like him never do. They think attention is oxygen. The comments, however, went exactly how I expected. Someone replied, Intimidated? Dude, she doesn't even think about you. Another, this the same guy whose girlfriend impersonated a consultant at Vortex? Another, sir, respectfully, log off. Then, someone posted a compilation of screenshots from Noah's old social media. Theo gasped. The internet has receipts and multiple angles. By noon, Noah's rant was shredded, mocked, and effectively ignored. He deleted it too, but people had already saved it. Lessons were learned. Not by him, of course. 2 months later, his final message arrived. As always, from an unknown number. You'll never admit it, but I made you who you are. I deleted it instantly. Because here's the truth. Noah didn't make me ambitious. He mistook silence for weakness. He mistook patience for passivity. He mistook focus for failure. He didn't inspire me. He misjudged me. And I stopped living in the shadow of his voice the moment I realized something simple. My life became peaceful when I stopped caring who was watching. The night after that final message, I stayed late at the office. The floor was quiet, lights dimmed, the city glowing beyond the windows. I walked through the workspace. Long tables, whiteboards filled with ideas, hum of servers in the distance. Everything in that room had begun in a broken apartment with peeling paint and a laptop that overheated when I opened Photoshop. I stopped beside the window, watching the city breathe. Ambition, I realized, was never supposed to be loud. Ambition isn't posting your success. It's showing up when no one's clapping. It's working quietly until the results speak for themselves. And peace? Peace is knowing you no longer need an audience to validate the life you built. I locked up, walked out, and let the door close behind me with a soft click. A sound that felt like the final line of a chapter I no longer needed to reread.